visiting with us. I'm glad that you're here. I want you to come back every opportunity that you have. We're going to be studying about Joseph tonight. We're going to be reading a lot of passages, and I hope you brought your Bible with you. I read out of the New King James, and so you read the King James or something else, it may be read a little different. We're going to start with Romans 12th chapter. Over in Romans 12th chapter, it talks about Christian living. It got down to the latter part, about the last 5 verses of it. Notice what Paul is telling these people at this time. And see if you don't fit in with the story tonight. In Romans 12th chapter, starting in verse 17, it says, repay no one evil for evil, have regard for good things in the sight of all men. If it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. Beloved, do not avenge yourselves, but rather give place to wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. Therefore, if your enemy hungers, feed him. If he thirsts, give him a drink. For in so doing, you will heap coals of fire on his head. You'll see tonight that Joseph, in this thing, that God is going to heap coals of fire on Joseph's brother's head because of what they're going to do to him in this thing. Them people are going to regret ever doing what they did, but they had to do what set this thing up, because if you go back over in Genesis 15 chapter and about 13 verse, you'll see where that God made Abraham a promise and told him that his kin or children would go down into a foreign country and would be there for 400 years. And so in Genesis 37th chapter, it's going to be the start of it. It's going to take about, it'll be about 22 years from the time that this starts until they're going to be down in Egypt. Joseph was 17-year-old, and not many young men would do what Joseph did and stand up like Joseph did in the time of the Finches happened, because it never mentioned Joseph ever sinning. Whether he did or not, we don't know. The Bible says that all men have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, so we suppose that somewhere down the line he did. But anyway, starting at verse 1 of chapter 37, we're going to read chapter 37 and about 12 verses of 39. And then we're going to skip through this thing, and we're going to go through 13 chapters. So I hope you got your Bibles with you. Now Jacob dwelled in the land where his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. This is a genealogy of Joseph, or Jacob. Joseph, being 17-year-old, was feeding the flock of his brothers, with his brothers, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhad and the sons of Zilpad. Bilhad was Dan and Naphtali. Zilpad was Gad and Asher. These are the 4 men that he's going to snitch on. His father's wives, there were the concubines, and Joseph brought a bad report of them to his father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age. Also he made him a tunic of many colors. And when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than his brothers, they hated him and could not speak peaceably to him. Now Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they hated him even more. And he said to them, please hear this dream which I have dreamed. There we were binding sheaves in the field. Then behold, my sheaves arose and also stood upright, and indeed your sheaves stood all around and bowed down to my sheaves. And his brother said to him, shall you indeed reign over us, or shall you indeed have dominion over us? So they hated him, and even more for this dream and for his words. Then he dreamed still another dream, and told it to his brothers, and said, look, I have dreamed another dream. And this dream, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars bowed down to me. And so he told it to his father and his brothers, and his father rebuked him and said to him, what is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall your mother and I and your brothers indeed come to bow down to the earth before you? And his brothers envied him, but his fathers kept the matter in mind. And you go back to Genesis 28 chapter where Jacob went to sleep one night, and this ladder went up to heaven, and angels went up and down it, and he said, this is the house of God. And so it happened to him, and I'm sure that it crossed his mind when these dreams kept coming back up to Joseph. Then his brothers went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, are not your brothers feeding the flock in Shechem? Come, I will send you to them. So he said to him, here I am. Then he said to him, please go and see if it is well with your brothers and well with the flock, and bring them word to me. So he sent him out of the valley of Hebron, and he went to Shechem. This is going to be the last time he sees him for 22 years. Now a certain man found him, and there he was wandering in the fields. And a man asked him, saying, what are you seeking? And he said, I am seeking my brothers. Please tell me where they are feeding their flock. And the man said, they have departed from here, for I heard them say, let's go down to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dothan. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near them, they conspired against him to kill him. Then they said to one another, look, this dreamer is coming. Come therefore, let us now kill him and cast him into some pit. And we shall say some wild beast has devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dreams. But Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. And Reuben said to them, shed no blood, but cast him into this pit which is in the wilderness, and do not lay a hand on him, that he might deliver them out of their hands and bring him back to his father. So it came to pass, when Joseph had come to his brothers, they stripped Joseph of his tunic and the tunic of many colors that was on him. Then they took him and they cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. And they sat down to eat at a meal. And then they lifted up their eyes and looked, and there come a company of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead with their camels bearing spices, balm, myrrh on their ways to carry them down to Egypt. God has provided this for Joseph. And so Judah said to his brothers, what profit is there if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come and let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hands be upon him. For he is our brother, and our flesh, and his brothers listened. Then the Midianite traders passed by, and so the brothers pulled Joseph up and lifted him out of the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. And they took Joseph to Egypt. Then Reuben returned to the pit. Indeed, Joseph was not in the pit. And he tore his clothes, and he returned to his brethren and said, the lad is no more, and where shall I go? So they took Joseph's tunic, killed a kid, of the goats, and dipped the tunic in the blood. Then they sent the tunic of the many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, we have found this. Do you know whether it is your son's tunic or not? And he recognized it and said, it is my son's tunic, and wild beasts has devoured him. Without doubt, Joseph is torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes, put sackcloth on his waist, and mourned for his son many days. And all his sons and daughters arose and comforted him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, I shall go down to my grave to my son. And mourning, thus his father wept for him. Now the Midianites had sold him in Egypt to Potiphar's, an officer of Pharaoh and a captain of the guard. Over in chapter 39, we're going to read about the first 12 verses of it, and we're going to give you the context of what this whole thing's going to be about. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, was captain of the guard, and the Egyptian bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him down there. And the Lord was with Joseph, and was a successful man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And the master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And so Joseph found favor in his sight, and served him. Then he made him overseer of his house, and all that he had he put in his hand. So it was from the time that he had made him overseer of his house, and all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake, and the blessings of the Lord was on all that he had, and in the house, and in his field. So he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he did not know what he had except for the bread which he ate. And Joseph was handsome and formal in appearance. Now it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast longing eyes upon Joseph, and he said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Look, my master does not know what is with me in the house, and he has committed all that he has in my hand. There is no greater in this house than I, nor has he kept back anything from me but you, because you are his wife. How can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" So it was that she spoke to Joseph day by day, that he did not heed her, to lie with her or to be with her. But it happened about this time when Joseph went into the house to do his work, that none of the men of the house was in sight. I'm sure she had a reason for sending him out. That she called him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in her hand and fled and ran outside. Joseph did what he was supposed to do, run from sin. The same thing that we as children of God need to do when it confronts us. We need to turn and run. Get away from it. It's like being close to a fire. If you get too close to it, you're going to get burned. If you get away from it, it won't burn you. But it's going to go on that she's going to tell her husband when he comes home. And Potiphar is going to have Joseph thrown into prison. We don't know how long he was in Potiphar's house, and we don't know how long he's going to be in prison. But we do know that after this, he's going to interpret 2 dreams, that he's going to be in there at least 2 more years. And it goes on and says this in verse 21 of chapter 39, "But the Lord was with Joseph." Now he's going to stay with Joseph, and if we're faithful to God, he'll stay with us. "And showed him mercy, and he gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed in Joseph's hand and all the prisoners who were in the prison, whatever they did, it was his doing. The keeper of the prison did not look into anything that was under Joseph's hand, because the Lord was with him, and whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper." So the Lord stayed with him. He didn't turn him loose. He is with us. Like I say, if we are faithful to God, with all people that are faithful to God, he has been through the time in the Bible. But it's going to go on to chapter 40, and there's going to be a butler and a baker that Pharaoh has cast out of his under charge of him. And so these men are put under Joseph's care, and so Joseph goes in there one day, and they have some long faces, and he asked the butler, he said, "Why are you having a long face?" And he said, "I had this drink." He said, "A vine came down, had 3 branches on it, it budded, and it put grapes on it. And I crushed the grapes and put them into a cup, and I handed them to Pharaoh." And he said, and so he said, "It's not me, but God who interprets dreams." And he said, 3 vines is 3 days. He said, "You will be back, Pharaoh, and you'll be putting the cup in his hand." The baker saw that it sounded good and looked good, so he said, I had a dream last night. He said, there was 3 baskets on my head. I had bread and all kinds of bakery goods, and it was on top of his head, and the birds came and devoured it. And Joseph told him, he said, in 3 days, you'll go back to Pharaoh. It's on Pharaoh's birthday, and Pharaoh hung him, and the birds came and ate the flesh out of him. And that was the interpretation of the dream. But anyway, he asked the butler. He said, and it gets down to here in, let's see, in verse 14 of chapter 40, this is what he said. He said, but remember me when it is well with you, and please show kindness to me, making mention of me to Pharaoh, and get me out of this house. For indeed I was stolen away from the land of the Hebrews, and also I have done nothing here that they should put me in the dungeon. But the baker, the butler did not tell Pharaoh anything about it, but it's going to go on in 2 years later. It says in chapter 41, top part of it, it says, then it passed at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh was going to have to. His dream is that 7 cows is going to come up out of the river. They're fat, they're pretty, they're just as flush as you can get. 7 more cows came up. Skinny, you can count every bone on them. They're going to eat the flesh and the 7 cows up and just devour. And they're not going to take it away. Then there were 7 heads came up on one plant. And then this other plant came up and didn't have anything on it. It was withered, it was dried up, and it devoured the 7-headed plant, and it didn't give anything. And so Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not me, but God will give Pharaoh an answer to this piece. And so he is going to tell him the 2 dreams are the same. They're going to be 7 good years of plenty, and they're going to be 7 years of famine. And he said, you need to select you a wise man that can take care of this and store up this grain to where that when you 7 famine years, you'll have grain to survive this famine years. And so Pharaoh said, there's no one greater in my kingdom than you. And so he's going to put Joseph in charge of this. And so Joseph is going to take care of this. It says over in verse 26 of 41 that Joseph is 30-years-old when he stood before Pharaoh in Egypt. So it's going to be 13 years since he's seen his father and his brothers, or any of those people. So Pharaoh is going to give him a wife. He's going to have 2 children in the first 7 years of this planting. Then the famine is going to stop. And he gets down into close to verse 42, and the famine was done in there for 2 years. And so people are starting to come. They don't have anything to eat, and so they come there to get grain. And before it's all over, they're going to sell their cows, their land, Egypt along with everything that they've got, but at least they survive. But in chapter 42, Jacob is going to hear about this grain that is down in Egypt. And so he's going to send his 10 older sons. Benjamin is going to stay home. And he gets down to chapter 42 in verse 7. And Joseph is the one who is going to let the grain out. No one else undoubtedly don't do it, and Joseph is going to be in charge of it. But notice what it says in chapter 7. Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he acted as a stranger to them and spoke roughly to them, and he said to them, where do you come from? And they said, from the land of Canaan to buy food. And so Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. Then Joseph remembered the dream which he had dreamed about them. And he said to them, you are spies, you have come to see the nakedness of the land. Remember the sheaves? He rose up and their sheaves bowed down to him, and then they talked about the moon and the stars. Mother and father's going to bow down to him. It's all going to take place later on. His mother won't, because his mother will be dead. But anyway, and it goes on down to verse 11. It says, we are one man's sons, and we are honest men. Your servants are not spies. But he said to them, but know you have come to see the nakedness of the land. And they said, your servant are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. In fact, the youngest is with the father today, and one is no more. They thought that Joseph was dead. What they're talking here this time. And he goes on about, he's talking about his younger brother. And then he gets on down into the same, and then Joseph said to them the third day that he's going to put them in prison for 3 days. And Joseph said to them, the third day, do this and live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers be confined to your prison house, but you go and carry grain for the famine of your house. And bring your youngest brother to me, so your word will be verified, and you shall not die. And they did so. Then they said to one another, we are guilty concerning our brother. For we saw the anguish of his soul when he pleaded with us, and we would not hear. Therefore his distress has come upon us. And Reuben answered them and said, did I not speak to you, saying, do not sin against the boy? You would not listen. Therefore behold, his blood now required of us. It's come back to these brothers about taking Joseph and selling him. Can you imagine a man sitting there pleading with his life to go back to his father? And how that a young man, a young man could take, it's this day and time, I won't get even. The thing is with people, get even with them, some way or another. But it's not with Joseph. Because he could have got even with them. He could have had their head if he wanted to. He was in a position he could have every one of them hung if he so wanted to. But Joseph did not. Because he gets down in verse 24 and it said he turned himself away from them and he wept. He was compassionate about these brothers. He loved his brothers and he wanted them to have the best. And they're going to have the best when we get down into Egypt. When they started home, he filled their sacks, he started home, and one of them's going to feed his donkey, and he gets some grain out of it, and when he gets the grain out of it, his money is in the top of the sack. It says in verse 27, he said, but one of them opened his sack and gave his donkey feed, and the accountant, and he saw his money, and there it was in the mouth of the sack. And so he said to his brother, my money has been restored, and there is money in my sack. Then their hearts failed them, and they were afraid, saying to one another, what is this that God has done to us? Can you imagine what they was thinking when they saw that money in the top of the sack? Their brother Benjamin was back there in that deal, and they were going to probably have to come back and get him, their younger brother. Man cannot be afraid, cannot understand probably what went through these people's mind. But anyway, they're going to go home, they're going to take the food there, and they're going to talk to Jacob. It's time for them to go back and get more grain because they're out. Jacob tells them, said, you need to go back. One of his brothers, his sons told him, he said, unless Benjamin goes back with us, we'll not go. He's got to go back with us. The man told us if he didn't come back, that we would be his slaves if we went back. Anyway, they keep going with Jacob, and he finally agrees to send them back. The famine was great. They didn't have anything to eat. People was probably starved to death if they did. But anyway, his father says this in verse 11 of 43. He said, their father Israel said to them, if it must be so, then do this. Take some of the best fruit of the land and your vessels and carry them down and present for the man a little balm, a little honey, spices, myrrh, pistachio nuts, and almonds. Take double money in your hand, and take back in your hand money that was returned in your mouth of your sack. Perhaps it was an oversight. He wants to cover everything to make sure that his boys is going to be okay. He's going to take fruit. He's going to take this other stuff with him. He's going to double what the grain costs, and then he's going to take the money back that it cost him the first time to make sure that they get back. They're going to go back. When they come back up there, they've got Benjamin with them. In verse 16 of chapter 43, it says, when Joseph saw Benjamin with him, he said to the stewards of his house, take these men to my home and slaughter an animal and make ready, for these men will dine with me at night. And so the men did is what Joseph had. They took him to the house. Now the men in verse 18 were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house, and they said, it is because of the money which was returned in our sack the first time that we are brought in, so that he may seek an occasion against us and fall upon us to take us as slaves with our donkeys. They are worried that they are going to be slaves in that country from now on. But anyway, Joseph is going to come to them at noon. And he's going to have a meal with them. He's not going to have a meal with them because an Egyptian can't eat with them. It's an abomination for an Egyptian to eat with them. Israel. They couldn't do it. And so he gets down to verse 27 of chapter 43, and he's going to ask them a question. Then he asked him about their well-being. And he said, your father, it said, is your father well? The old man of whom you spoke, is he still alive? He had already given him men, because he keeps asking about his father, and he keeps asking about their younger brother. He should have given him a clue that he may have been Joseph, but it didn't, because he was using an interpreter to speak to these men, and they didn't understand what was going on. And they answered, your servant, our father, is in good health, and he is still alive. And they bowed their heads down and prostrated themselves. Then he lifted his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, is this your younger brother, of whom you spoke of me? And he said, God be gracious to you, my son. Now his heart yearned for his brother, so Joseph made haste and sought somewhere to weep. And he went into the chambers and wept there. It broke his heart that these men were here. The love that he had for them, you can imagine not seeing your brother for, let's see, it was 13, 20, about 22 years since he had seen these brothers. And so it was heartwarming that he get to see their brothers. He's going to give them their sacks of food and grain again. He's going to put their money in the top of the sack, or he's not, as sure it is. And in Benjamin's sack, he's going to put a silver cup. And he's going to send them on their way. They don't know the silver cup's in there. They don't know the money's in the sack. But anyway, the steward is going to go after them when they start down the road. And he's going to get down in verse 6 of chapter 44, and notice what it says. So he overtook them, and he spoke to them the same words. They said to him, why does my Lord say these words? Far be it from us that your servant should do such a thing. Look, we brought back to you from the land of Canaan the money which was found in the mouth of your sack. How then do we steal silver or gold from your Lord's house? And notice what they're going to say. They're going to wish they hadn't said this after they've said it. With whomever of your servants it is found, let him die. And we also will be your Lord's servants. And he said, now also let it be according to your words. And he with whom it is found shall be my slave, and you shall be blameless. And each man speedily let down his sack to the ground, and each opened his sack. So he searched, and he began with the oldest and left off with the youngest, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. Then they tore their clothes, and each man loaded his donkey and returned to the city. Can you imagine, after Judah told Jacob, I will be responsible for this young man. If anything happens to him, his blood will be upon my head. Jacob is going to talk to Joseph. It's going to go through this thing, and you really need to read the rest of 44. And he's going to talk to Joseph about this. But in chapter 45, Joseph is going to reveal himself to his brothers. Then Joseph could not restrain himself before all those who stood by him. And he cried out, make everyone go out from me. And so no one stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians of the house of Pharaoh heard him. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Does my father still live? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed in his presence. And Joseph said to his brothers, please come near me. And they came near, and he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you have sold into Egypt. But now, do not therefore be grieved or angry with me with yourselves, because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to serve life. For these 2 years the famine has been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which they will neither be plowing nor harvesting. God sent me here before you to serve prosperity for you in the earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So now it was not you who sent me here, but God. And he made me a father of Pharaoh and the Lord of the house, and ruled throughout Egypt. And he gets on down into verse 14, and notice what it says. And he fell on his brother's Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. Moreover, he kissed his brothers and wept over them. And after that, his brothers talked with him. And you can imagine what it would do to a brother who had wanted to kill his brother, and Joseph come back and do this to you. Show that kind of love for you. It gets on down into this thing, and they're going to go be put into the land of Goshen. But over in chapter 50, Jacob is going to die. He is 149-year-old, I believe. He's 140-something year old. But anyway, he's been down in the land for 17 years, in the land of Goshen for 17 years. And he's going to die. Notice what is going to be said in chapter 50, starting in verse 15. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, perhaps Joseph will hate us, and may actually repay us for all the evil which we did to him. So they sent messengers to Joseph, saying, before your father died, he commanded, saying, thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespass of your brothers and their sins. For they did evil to you, now please forgive the trespass of the servants of God, of your father. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. And when his brothers also went, he fell down before his face, and they said, behold, we are your servants. And Joseph said to them, do not be afraid, for I am in the place of God. But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about this day, to save many people's lives. Now therefore, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones. And he commanded them, and he spoke kindly to them. The attitude that a man had is the kind of attitude every Christian ought to have. Don't make any difference. You know, God will take care of those problems. We need to be children of God. We need to stand up, and we don't need to try to get even with anyone. if there's anyone here tonight that has not been converted to Christianity or have turned away from it, we're going to get an opportunity tonight to get your life right with the Lord. If you're not glad, you need to get back. While together we stand and sing.